If you had told me even a month ago that I'd be saying this, I would have laughed. But here I am, sitting in a dimly lit room with every door locked, my phone in my hand, and a pit in my stomach I can't ignore. Because someone messaged me last week. Someone who hasn't existed since 1995. Let me rewind. My name is Alex McKinley. I live a pretty average life. 39 years old, married to a woman named Rachel, father to a 7-year-old son, Mason. I work from home, doing digital marketing for small companies. We live in a small town in Pennsylvania, nothing fancy, just normal. At least it was. It all started when I got a text message at 2:46 a.m. last Wednesday. I was awake, barely, just scrolling through Reddit with the brightness down. Rachel and Mason were fast asleep, and I was trying to wind down. When the buzz came, I thought it was just a system notification. But it wasn't. It was a message. From a number I didn't recognize. Hey, it's me. I need help. I stared at it for a second, confused. There was no name attached. Just a 7-digit number, no area code. Who even has a number like that anymore? I replied. Who is this? A minute passed. Then 2. Then. It's Derek. From high school. I literally felt my skin crawl. Derek Bennett. That name hit me like a cold slap. He'd been my best friend growing up. We were inseparable, until the summer of 1995, when he vanished. No warning, no leads, no evidence. One day he was there and the next, gone. His bike was found on the side of Quarry Road, but that was it. No body. No note. Just gone. My hands trembled as I typed back. This isn't funny. Derek's been missing for 30 years. A moment later, another message arrived. I know. That's why I need you. Meet me behind the old skating rink at midnight. Come alone. My heart was pounding now. The old skating rink had been closed since the early 2000s. It was where Derek and I used to hang out before it burned down. No one goes there anymore. Not unless they're looking for trouble. I didn't respond. I just sat there for an hour staring at the message. Then I quietly slipped out of bed, grabbed my hoodie, my flashlight, and my car keys. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to go. The drive to the rink was only 15 minutes, but it felt like an hour. The roads were empty, the night too quiet. Fog rolled low across the ground like something alive. As I pulled up, the rink loomed ahead like a broken-down tomb. The windows were shattered, the sign dangling by a single screw. Parked and got out. The moment I stepped onto the cracked pavement, a chill ran through me. Felt watched. I walked to the back of the building, flashlight trembling in my hand. I almost turned around. Almost. Then I saw him. A man standing in the shadows. Hoodie pulled up. Face half hidden. Derek! Called out. He stepped forward slowly. And yeah, God help me, it was him. Same green eyes, same crooked nose, same birthmark under his left ear. Except he hadn't aged a day. I blinked hard. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. He looked at me, expression tight. I don't have much time. It knows I got out. What the hell is going on? Asked, voice cracking. Where have you been? He looked around nervously. Not here. Somewhere else. Somewhere wrong. I asked what he meant, but he just shook his head. I can't explain it right. You wouldn't believe me. But I need you to listen to me carefully. You're the only one who can help. I took a step closer. Help with what? Derek reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal box. It looked ancient, rusted and covered in strange markings that didn't look like any language I knew. You need to hide this. Somewhere no one will find it. Not even you. You can't let it fall into the wrong hands. What is it? It's a key, he said, voice trembling. To the place I was trapped in. And it wants out. Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the silence. A shrill whistle. Far off but coming closer. Derek's eyes widened with terror. It found me. What found you? But he didn't answer. He just shoved the box into my hands. Run. Don't look back. If it catches you. He didn't finish. I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I was back at my car. I jumped in and drove like hell, hands sweating on the wheel, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror the whole time. But nothing followed me. At least, not that night. When I got home, I locked the doors, put the box in a toolbox in the garage, and collapsed onto the couch. My heart was still racing. I waited for the sun to rise before I dared go to bed. The next day, I didn't tell Rachel anything. What would I even say? Hey honey, remember my childhood best friend who vanished in 1995? He just showed up last night, looking like he hasn't aged a minute, and gave me a cursed box. Well, kept my mouth shut. But that night the dream started. I saw Derek, trapped in a place of endless gray corridors. He was running. Something was chasing him. Something with no face, no name. Just shadow and sound. A high-pitched hum that made my teeth hurt. When I woke up, the box was on my nightstand. I know what you're thinking. I must have brought it in myself and forgot. Sleepwalking or something. But I hadn't. I know I hadn't. The next few days were worse. Shadows in mirrors. Whispers through the vents. Mason said he saw a man with no skin standing in the backyard. Rachel thought he was just being imaginative. I knew better. Then I got another message. This one said, "It can look like me now. Don't believe what you see." Called the number. It didn't ring. Just silence. Then another message. "If it knocks, don't answer. No matter what." That night there was a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. I looked through the peephole. Derek. Same hoodie. Same face. Same green eyes. But something was wrong. The eyes, they didn't blink. They didn't move. They looked painted on. He smiled too wide. And then he whispered, even though the door was still closed. "Let me in, Alex. We're friends, remember?" Backed away. He started knocking again, faster this time. More aggressive. Then suddenly silence. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I found footprints, bare, wet, and covered in ash, all around the porch. And a note scribbled on old paper. "The box must be buried. Before the full moon. Or I won't be the last." That was 3 days ago. The box is still in the garage, but I swear it's humming now. Just barely. But it's there. Constant. Like it's waiting. And tonight is the full moon. Something is coming. And I don't know if I can stop it. The full moon rose like an eye in the sky. Cold, watching, unblinking. I stood in the garage, staring at the box Derek had given me, feeling its presence grow heavier by the hour. It was still on the shelf where I'd left it 3 nights ago, but now it almost seemed alive. The metal was slick with condensation, even though the garage was dry. And that humming. It wasn't faint anymore. It was louder now. Like an engine running just beneath the surface. Like something waking up. Rachel knocked on the doorframe. "Alex, are you okay?" "Jump." "Yeah," I lied. "Just cleaning up." She frowned. "It's past 11. You coming to bed?" "Soon." She lingered for a second, then walked away. I watched her go, then turned back to the box. "Buried. It has to be buried before the full moon." That's what the note had said. I had no idea who wrote it. Maybe it was Derek. Maybe it was someone else. But it didn't matter. I had to do something. So I grabbed my shovel, wrapped the box in an old flannel shirt, and loaded it into the trunk. I didn't even bother putting on socks. Just shoes, jeans, jacket, and keys. By midnight, I was driving through winding back roads toward a stretch of forest behind Ridge Hollow, a place my dad used to take me camping. It was far from any trail or road, and most people had forgotten it even existed. I parked the car near a chain gate, climbed over it, and began walking with a shovel over my shoulder and the box under my arm. The air felt wrong, heavy, still, like the forest was holding its breath. The moonlight bled through the bare trees, painting everything in a dull, silver glow. I hiked half a mile in, found a small clearing and started digging. Every strike of the shovel echoed too loud. I was sweating, panting, muscles aching. My body kept telling me to stop, to leave, to turn back. But something deeper told me I was doing the right thing. That if I didn't something terrible was going to happen. When the hole was 3 feet deep, I dropped the box in. The moment it hit the dirt, everything changed. The wind stopped. The night silenced. Then I heard it. A step. I spun around, flashlight trembling in my grip. "Hello!" called out. "Is someone there?" The light hit a figure. It was Derek. Again. But not like before. His clothes were tattered now, soaked in something dark. His skin pale, almost gray. His eyes, sunken, glassy, twitching slightly. "Alex," he whispered. "No," I said, stepping back. "You're not him." He took a step forward, body moving stiffly. "You have to dig it up. Right now. You told me to bury it. I was wrong. You don't understand. It's waking up. You have to give it to me." I gripped the shovel tighter. "No, you're not Derek. I don't know what you are, but I'm not letting you touch that thing." He twitched again and suddenly smiled wide. "Wrong. You already did." He lunged. I swung the shovel. It connected with something hard. The figure stumbled back and let out a horrible screech, inhuman and metallic. I didn't wait. I threw dirt over the box as fast as I could, covering it, packing it down, then sprinted back toward the car. I didn't look back. I drove home doing 50 in a 25. The forest disappeared in my rearview mirror. But that face, it stayed with me. Rachel was still asleep when I got home. I checked Mason's room. He was snoring softly, his favorite blanket clutched in his fists. Everything seemed normal, until I looked at my phone. There were pictures again. One of the forest, then one of the hole, then one of the box buried, then one from inside my garage, then one of my bedroom, then one of my son's room. I dropped the phone. My heart stopped. I rushed to Mason's room and flipped on the light. He was gone. Just gone. I screamed his name. Rachel came running, panic in her eyes. She saw the empty bed and let out a sound I'll never forget, a mixture of fear and pain and disbelief. We called the police. The next 12 hours were a blur. Flashing lights, officers, dogs, questions. I told them what I could, but I left out the box, the messages, the forest. Who would believe me? They searched the woods. Nothing. They interviewed neighbors. Nothing. There was no sign of Mason. No prints. No broken window. Just gone. Vanished like Derek had all those years ago. That night, Rachel cried until she couldn't breathe. I sat on the couch numb. At 3:11 a.m., my phone buzzed again. No number. Just one message. He's safe. For now. But not for long. Type back, hand shaking. Where is he? Reply came. Same place I was. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever. Then another message. You need to open the box again. But this time you have to go through. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. But instead I got up, grabbed my keys and went back to the forest. The ground was already disturbed when I got there. Something had dug the box up. It was sitting on top of the dirt, waiting. I knelt beside it. The humming was louder now. Pulsing. I reached out and touched it. It was warm. Then it clicked open. A blinding light erupted from inside, and I was sucked forward, not with my body, but with something deeper. My mind, my soul, something. Fell. For what felt like hours. When I landed, I was standing on a black plain, beneath a dark sky. Twisting towers rose in the distance, made of bone and glass. Shadows moved in the mist, tall, wrong, shifting. And then I saw him, Mason, standing alone, calling for me. Ran. The ground cracked beneath my feet, the air thick with whispers. And behind me something followed, something huge, crawling, clicking. Mason saw me, eyes wide. He ran too. We met in the middle. Grabbed him. Then the world twisted. And I was back. In the garage. On the floor. Holding the box. And Mason gone again. Like he'd never been there. The box clicked shut on its own. A note slid out from under it. You only get one chance. Next time it keeps him. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know who to trust. But I know one thing. Whatever's inside that box, it's still hungry. The next morning I told Rachel everything. I expected her to laugh, or scream, or accuse me of losing my mind. But she just looked at me with hollow eyes, clutching a photo of Mason in one hand and shaking her head slowly. "I don't care how crazy it sounds," she whispered. "If there's even a chance we can get him back, I'm in." I stared at her, stunned. "Are you serious?" "Yes." She nodded. "Let's open it again." Everything in me screamed no. Every cell in my body remembered that twisted place, the shadows, the sound of something massive following me. But Mason's face was all I could see. His voice calling my name. I'd do anything to get him back. We cleared out the garage. I brought the box inside, placing it on the workbench. Rachel stood beside me, hands trembling. "Are you ready?" "Yes." She bit her lip. "Do it." I pressed my palm against the surface. The hum kicked in instantly, louder than ever, like something alive inside the metal was stirring. There was a sharp click, and the top split open like a flower unfolding. Light surged out, not just white but shades of color I'd never seen before. The world tilted. We were falling. Together. I didn't scream. Couldn't. My voice was stuck in my throat as my mind stretched and twisted and folded like paper. When we landed, we were somewhere new. Not the same endless plain I'd seen before. This place was darker. Closer. A long hallway stretched ahead, walls made of black stone, dripping with something wet. Pale lights floated along the ceiling like jellyfish. At the end of the corridor there was a door. And behind that door, I could feel him. "Mason's in there," I whispered. Rachel looked like she was about to collapse, but she nodded. "Then let's go." We started walking, each footstep echoing like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I felt like we were being watched not just from behind or above but from inside. Like the walls themselves were alive, listening, waiting. The closer we got to the door, the colder it got. Our breath turned to fog. The air smelled of iron and ash. Then the lights above us blinked out. One by one. We froze. The last light faded. Total blackness. A whisper. Right behind my ear. "You shouldn't have come back." I turned, swinging blindly. My fist hit nothing. The lights snapped on. Rachel was gone. I spun in place, heart thundering. "Rachel!" No answer. I was alone. Again. I ran down the hallway, slamming my shoulder into the massive black door at the end. It opened with a scream of rusted hinges, and I stumbled into a massive circular chamber. In the center, Mason. He was standing inside a ring of symbols glowing on the floor, his hands covering his face. "Mason!" shouted. He looked up, and it wasn't him. Not entirely. His eyes solid black. His skin cracked, glowing faintly with red light beneath the surface. But when he spoke, it was still his voice. "Daddy," he whispered. "It won't let me go." I ran toward him. A wall of invisible force stopped me cold, slamming me backward. Laughter echoed around the chamber. A new voice, low, feminine, ancient. "Brave," it said. "Foolish, but brave." A shape rose from the darkness. Tall, cloaked in layers of shifting black cloth, a crown of bones on its head. "You're the first to return," it hissed. "The others always run." I struggled to stand. "What do you want from my son?" It tilted its head. "Your world sends me its unwanted. The forgotten. The discarded. I give them purpose." "He's a child," I spat. "He didn't choose this." "No," it agreed. "But you did. The moment you opened the gate." I clenched my fists. "Then take me." "Let him go." Pause. Then smiled. "Very well." The symbols at Mason's feet flared. He screamed, a sound so raw it made my vision go white. Then he vanished. The creature raised its hand and pointed at the center of the ring. "Step in." I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward. Fire exploded around me. Pain unlike anything I've ever felt ripped through my chest. I couldn't scream. Couldn't move. I felt my memories being peeled away. Birthdays, summers, faces I loved, all gone. Voice. Rachel. Screaming my name. And suddenly, a blinding crack of light shattered everything. I opened my eyes. I was lying on the floor of the garage. Rachel was beside me, coughing, holding Mason in her arms. His eyes normal. His skin pale but human. What happened? I asked, throat raw. Rachel looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I don't know. 1 second I was gone. The next I saw you in that ring and something told me what to do. She held up the photo of Mason. I burned it. I stared at her. You what? I lit it on fire. I don't know why. I felt like it was the last link they had. And it worked. The box sat closed on the floor, its glow fading. For a moment it was over. We thought it was over. But that night, after we put Mason to bed and sat together in silence on the couch, my phone buzzed. One message. From Derek. I told you it wanted him. But it's not done. Then another. You brought something back. The message from Derek hung on the screen like a curse. You brought something back. I stared at it for a long time. The glow of my phone the only light in the room. Rachel was already asleep beside me. Mason tucked safely between us. His soft breath rising and falling. I didn't want to believe Derek was right. I wanted to think this was over. That we'd cheated whatever force had tried to take Mason. But deep down I knew. We'd opened a door. We didn't just reach through. Something had reached back. The house felt different now. Not haunted exactly. The air was thick, heavy with something unspoken. The lights flickered more often. Our clocks began falling behind, minutes at first, then hours. And then there were the sounds, scratching inside the walls, soft footsteps above the ceiling at night, doors creaking open that we knew we had locked. I tried to brush it off. Told myself it was residual fear, leftover adrenaline playing tricks on my brain. Until Rachel found the dead bird. It was in the kitchen, lying perfectly in the middle of the floor, wings folded neatly at its sides, eyes wide open like it had been frozen in fear. No blood, no wound. Instead, like it had been dropped there carefully for us to find. He screamed. I buried it in the backyard without a word. That night Mason had a nightmare. I heard him crying before I even made it up the stairs. When I rushed into his room, he was sitting straight up in bed, clutching his knees to his chest, wide-eyed and pale. He looked at me and whispered. She followed me back. I sat beside him, trying not to let him see the terror in my own face. Who, buddy? The tall lady, he said. The one with the crown. My heart nearly stopped. I hadn't told him what I saw in that place. Hadn't mentioned the thing in the black cloak. But he described her perfectly. She says this world is too soft. She wants to make it quiet. I held him until he drifted back to sleep, but I didn't sleep at all. I sat on the floor of his room, watching the shadows twitch and stretch across the walls until dawn. I needed answers. Derek had to know more. I messaged him again, this time more direct. Me. What followed us back? Derek. It's called the Hollow Queen. She rules the other side. That world isn't just a dimension. It's a prison. And now she's found a crack. Me. How do we stop her? He didn't answer for hours. When he did, it was only 2 words. We can't. But I wasn't ready to accept that. Couldn't. Not while Mason slept with his fists clenched. Not while Rachel jumped at every sound. We were breaking piece by piece. So I did the only thing I could think of. I opened the box again. No. I know how stupid that sounds. But it felt like the only way. If she came through the gate, then maybe I could send her back the same way. Maybe I could trap her, or at least learn something we could use against her. The hum began before I even touched it. It was waiting. Eager. The light burst outward. Fell. This time I landed in a forest. Silent. Dark. Trees taller than skyscrapers loomed in every direction. Their bark black as coal, their leaves like shredded cloth. The ground squelched beneath my boots, soft and pulsing. And I wasn't alone. They stood in a circle around me, people. Or what used to be people. Thin, gray eyes glowing dimly. Mouths stitched shut. Some wore clothing from decades ago. A man in a Letterman jacket. A girl in a polka dot dress. A soldier with a helmet and no hands. All of them watching me. Waiting. I took a step, and they parted silently, revealing a narrow path leading deeper into the woods. I didn't know where it went, but I walked anyway. The forest seemed to fold around me as I moved. The sky disappeared. The air grew colder. I could hear her now, the Hollow Queen, singing softly, a lullaby in a language I couldn't understand. And then the trees broke. I stood at the edge of a clearing. A throne made of bones and twisted metal sat in the center. And she was there. Elegant. Her face was human but only just. Smooth and pale, eyes too large, lips stitched into a permanent grin. The crown she wore shifted constantly, sprouting and retracting like the antlers of a living thing. "You again," she said, her voice like glass on stone. "You don't belong here," I said. "Go back." She laughed. "I am not the one who opened the door." I took a step closer. "Then why are you here?" "To remind your kind," she said, "what silence tastes like." She raised her hand. The ground split. Figures rose from the dirt, the same stitched-mouth people I saw before, now reaching toward me with desperate, shaking fingers. "You brought me a child," she whispered. "A mind unformed, easy to mold. But now you offer yourself. How noble." I felt the pull, not physical but mental. My memories stirred, threatening to unspool. But I held on. "Mason is off limits," I said. "If you want me, fine. But let him go." She tilted her head. "Done." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Deal. I hadn't even realized I was making one. The world twisted. And I was back. In the garage. Screaming. Rachel burst in moments later, pulling me up. "What happened? Where did you go?" I couldn't answer. My head was filled with whispers. "And Mason. He didn't wake up for 3 days. The doctors said it was exhaustion. Dehydration. But I knew better. Had made a deal. One I didn't understand. And the cost was already stacking up. When Mason finally opened his eyes, he looked at me and said one thing. She lied. Now the lights don't just flicker, they explode. Mirrors crack when I walk past. The box hums constantly, even when it's closed. And Rachel? She started sleepwalking. I found her last night standing in the backyard, barefoot, staring at the moon. She didn't remember a thing. The Hollow Queen didn't just follow us back. She's building something here. Foothold. Kingdom. And I think I just helped her plant the first stone. I didn't want to believe Mason. I told myself maybe it was just something he heard, or maybe I misunderstood. But as the days stretched on, I could feel it, the lie. The Hollow Queen had promised to leave Mason alone, and I believed her. But I had underestimated what a creature like her considers a promise. Mason wasn't getting better. Not really. He was awake, yes, but quiet. He didn't play with his toys anymore. He didn't ask to watch cartoons. He just sat in the living room staring out the window. Sometimes when I'd call his name, he wouldn't even blink. Other times he would whisper things under his breath. Things that made no sense. The roots are waking up. She's under the floor now. The red birds don't sleep. Rachel tried to keep things normal, but I could tell she was falling apart. She barely ate. Started jumping at the sound of the microwave beeping. The dark circles under her eyes got worse every day. And me. I started having dreams. Not just nightmares. Dreams that felt like memories from a life I never lived. Standing in endless hallways. Clocks without hands. Screams that never echoed. And always her, the Hollow Queen, watching me from a distance, her grin widening every night. Then, one morning Derek showed up at my front door. I hadn't seen him in person since he vanished in 1995. And yet there he was, standing in jeans and a faded hoodie, looking older but alive. I need to come in, he said. I didn't question it. I stepped aside, and he walked straight to the living room, where Mason sat silently. He's marked, Derek said. What does that mean? Rachel asked, clutching her robe tight. It means she's already inside him, he said. Pieces of her. If we don't remove them, he won't be your son anymore. I felt my heart stop. Then what the hell do we do? Derek looked at me, his expression unreadable. We go back in. All of us. No, Rachel said immediately. No way. That place nearly killed you. Killed all of us. Not going in is worse, Derek replied. She's using Mason like a back door. She's growing. Expanding. This whole house is like her cocoon now. Pretty soon it won't matter where we are. She'll be able to reach anyone. I looked at Mason. He was humming now. Soft low like he was tuning into some static-filled frequency. I didn't want to do it. But I knew Derek was right. We had to go back. That night we gathered in the garage. Me, Rachel, Derek, and Mason. The box sat in the center of the concrete floor, pulsing softly like a heart. Derek handed me something wrapped in cloth, a small totem made of bone and string. What is this? Yes. It'll help you see the threads, he said. Everyone thinks that world is built like ours, floors, walls, places. It's not. It's built on memory, emotion, regret. This'll keep you tethered. We held hands. Rachel on one side of me, Mason on the other. Derek stood opposite us, arms stretched wide. And then the light took us. We landed in a different place this time. An empty city. Skyscrapers stretched into the clouds, but every window was dark. No lights, no people. Just silence. Not even wind. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. This is the city of echoes, Derek said. She built it from us. From the things we forgot, the things we tried to bury. Rachel held Mason close as we walked. He didn't say a word. His eyes were open wide, darting around, watching shadows no one else could see. We passed broken billboards, all blank. We passed parked cars with no doors. Stores that sold nothing. A bus stop where the benches were made of teeth. She's close, Mason whispered. The road cracked beneath our feet. And then we saw them. People. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, just standing still. All of them facing the same direction. Their heads tilted slightly up like they were waiting for a signal. No faces. Just smooth skin where their features should be. What are they? Rachel asked. Echoes, Derek said. They're pieces of other people. Whatever the Hollow Queen could scrape out when someone died with regret. Not souls. Just leftovers. One of the figures turned slowly toward us. And then they all did. No eyes. No mouths. Just blank, pale ovals staring straight through us. Run, Derek said. We did. Down alleys that bent the wrong way. Through doorways that led to rooms with no exits. The city moved with us, reshaping itself, funneling us toward something. And then we found it. Church. It stood alone, towering over the broken skyline like a monolith. The doors opened for us before we even touched them. Inside, the air was colder than ice. At the front stood a pulpit. And behind it, the Hollow Queen. Welcome, she said. She looked different now. Taller. Her limbs too long. Her face was smoother, her eyes darker. The crown was gone, replaced by something worse. A swarm of insects floating above her head in a perfect ring, never touching but always turning. You brought the child again, she said, stepping down toward us. So generous. You said you'd leave him alone, I said. I said he was off limits. That doesn't mean I let go. What do you want? Rachel asked, her voice trembling. The Hollow Queen grinned wider. I want a world that listens. A world that forgets its name. You cling to noise. To love. Sound. I am here to quiet you. Derek stepped forward, holding out the totem. You can't silence everything. She laughed. You brought me a bone charm. You think this is a fairy tale. And then she screamed. The force of it knocked us backward. The walls cracked. The echoes outside began to chant, low and droning, their blank faces pressed against the glass. Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black orb. "What is that?" shouted. "A mirror," he said. "One she can't break." He threw it. The orb cracked open mid-air, and the church dissolved. We fell again, but not into darkness. Into memory. My memory. The night my brother died. The night Derek disappeared. I was 13 again, standing in the woods behind our old house, watching the box open for the first time, watching Derek get pulled into the light while I screamed. Only this time something was different. Saw her. She was there. Even then. Hiding in the trees. Watching. Waiting. I turned to her, even in the memory. "You've always been here," I said. She nodded. "This world calls me. Your grief is loud. Your sadness feeds me. What if we stop feeling?" Yes. He paused. "Then I would starve." I reached into my chest and pulled. It's hard to describe. I didn't grab anything physical. I just focused on the grief, on the pain of losing Derek, on the fear of losing Mason. Pulled it into my hand, a glowing knot of energy writhing and shaking, and I hurled it at her. She screamed again, but this time the scream shattered something. I saw her form flicker, saw her shift into smoke, then bone, then nothing. And then I woke up. We were in the garage. The box was gone. Rachel was crying. Mason was laughing. And Derek was gone again. No body. No trace. Just a note on the ground, written in jagged handwriting. "She's not dead. Just sleeping. Tell the world to stay quiet." The house was different now. Quieter. Like it was holding its breath. Ever since we brought Mason back, the air in every room felt heavy, like something unseen had followed us. At night, I would hear footsteps in the hallway, too heavy to be Mason's. I'd open the door and find nothing. Rachel tried to ignore it, pretend things were okay. But she slept with the lights on, and every night I saw her staring at Mason's door as if waiting for it to vanish again. Then one night Mason came into our room. He looked pale, almost gray, dark circles under his eyes. He didn't speak. He just held out a piece of paper. On it were shapes, jagged, spiraling things that hurt to look at. And in the center, one word scrawled over and over again. "Hungry." We tried to ask him where he saw it. He wouldn't say. Just went back to his room and stared at the wall. That was the moment I knew. We hadn't saved Mason. We'd brought him back, but he wasn't alone. And whatever came with him was still hungry. I went to the garage. The box was still there. Sealed. Cold. But as I reached for it, my phone buzzed again. It was another message. From Derek. Just 3 words. "Too late now." The lights in the garage flickered. Temperature dropped. The air smelled like copper and rot. And then the box opened. Not slowly. Violently. A wind surged out, knocking me back. Shadows spilled from the interior, writhing, crawling, coiling like snakes made of smoke. I screamed for Rachel. She burst through the door just in time to see the shadows pulling something up through the floor. Not a person, not exactly. Form. A mass of twisting limbs and eyes that blinked in all directions. Mason stood behind it, smiling. "Dad," he said calmly. "This is who raised me there." Rachel tried to run. One of the shadows reached her before I could. Wrapped around her ankle. I grabbed her, pulling, fighting, screaming. And then Mason spoke again. "They want to go home." The shadows pulled harder. And I understood. Mason wasn't a victim anymore. He wasn't being haunted. He was a conduit. I let go of Rachel. And I jumped into the box. Again. Only this time, it wasn't a plane or a hallway. It was a world of endless staircases, each step glowing red hot. Creatures moved in the dark, made of bone and light and dust. Ran. Begged. Searched. And at the end, in a chamber of mirrors that reflected moments of my own life, I saw him. Derek. He looked older. Worn. But human. "I'm sorry," he said. He told me everything. He had found the box first, in 1995. But it hadn't taken him, it had shown him a choice. Deal. In exchange for knowledge beyond understanding, it would require a soul every 30 years. He thought he'd beat it, thought he could close it, but he was wrong. And now it was my turn. You brought it back, he said. You fed it. And now it's never going to stop. I stared at him. What do I do? He smiled sadly. You close the loop. I stepped into the light. And I remembered. All of it. Every time the box opened. 1925. 1955. 1985. 2015. Every 30 years. It always returned. It always fed. Sometimes a person. Sometimes a whole town. But someone always remembered. And someone always forgot. When I woke up, I was in my bed. Rachel beside me. Mason asleep. Everything seemed normal. Until I walked to the mirror. And didn't see myself. Just a note. Scrawled in red across the glass. See you in 2045.